Hey, welcome to Wellness Farm Chat. I'm Brooke, your host, and here we'll be chatting about all things homesteading, farming, and wellness. If you are new to this lifestyle or are looking for simple and easy steps to begin your wellness journey, you are in the right place. Hello and welcome to Wellness Farm Chat. I'm Brooke, your host, and today I'm going to be talking about why you don't need a farm to eat like you live on one. And this means that even if you live in a condo, if you live in a subdivision, even if you live in the busiest town with no property, you can't have chickens, you can hardly have a garden. This is for you. This is for you if you see on Instagram all these girls with their farm fresh eggs, walking in their yard, having a good time with all their children and then picking food out of their garden. This is for you because it sucks when you want to live a certain way and you just can't. You don't have the I want to say time, but you don't have the space or the ability to move out of town. So there are ways for you to connect with your food, to start eating pasture-raised eggs. You could order probably a quarter cow if you live in a condo or in a small space and you don't have a large freezer. There's things that you can do that will help you live that beautiful, nourishing, farm-styled life that I feel is just so good for us all. And there's so many benefits to this lifestyle, and it's in your reach. It is in your reach. So first, I'm going to go over what it means to eat like you live on a farm. And I do have notes that I do right up before the show. And if you see me looking down, because now I'm doing a video recording, that is why, is because I can go off on tangents and then lose track and then forget what I was going to say and talk about. So I do need to bring my brain back into order. And that is why if I look down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. Okay, so what does it mean to eat like you live on a farm? Okay, so this is eating whole, minimally processed food. So our family, we don't buy anything in a package, like packaged meals. So no packaged dinners, no snacks, the odd thing. But I mean, really nothing. Like my grocery list, I hardly use it because we buy the exact same things each week. There's no surprises unless there's like a holiday or a birthday and I'm making a special dessert or I'm making something for the holidays and I don't typically buy it. So we very simple, high protein, whole foods, and it's very simple. It's very simple. So we choose seasonal and local produce. So I have a farm called Confluence Farm in the Kootenays, and they deliver food to my door each week. And I pretty much order the same thing every week: onions, garlic, potatoes, carrots, and beets. And then a few other things like pepperoni sticks, breakfast sausage, organic cheese, organic yogurt, beef jerky, pretty much my staple vegetables and protein. And if my chickens are not laying enough, I'll grab some extra eggs. And their food is all organic, not sprayed with pesticide, no herbicides, and regenerative farming practices. And that makes me feel so confident that what I'm feeding my children, what I'm feeding my family is the best quality. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but I'm connecting with my farmers and I'm cutting out the middleman. I know personally who is growing my food and who is taking care of that, and they deliver it to my door and I can buy large quantities, and it's such a gift. I'm so thankful that this movement is starting and there's more and more farms that are creating programs where you can have weekly pickups or go straight to the farm and do bulk shopping. A lot of these farmers actually sow seeds that are storage varieties. So that means that they will actually store very well over the winter months. So you can have them throughout the winter months and they won't go bad if they're in the fridge or in a cold cellar. There's a lot of ways that we can incorporate these foods, such as fermenting vegetables and having more traditional foods like bone broth. So bone broth is another way to connect with your food and eat a very, very high nutrient dense food, like bone broth, bone marrow, all the bone things, beautiful for your body. So that is what it means, is connecting with your food, eating the whole animal. And you don't have to eat the whole animal, but I am on my way to doing that. But there's so many benefits to it. It's remarkable. Okay, so there is a lot of myths about living this way. So you don't need to have the farm to know your farmers, to access organic food. You don't need to have any property whatsoever. Like you could have live in a very small area and have access to this food. So it is in your arm's reach and you can access it. Next is here next. Here are my five simple ways to eat like you live on the farm. So here is if you have no idea where to start, and if you haven't started yet, here are my five kickers to get you going. So number one is support your local farmers and go to the farmer's market. So this is what I did first. Was I went to the farmer's market and I started talking. I started building relationships and connecting. And then I would find them on Instagram and Facebook and follow them. And then I would actually get to see online what they had. They would advertise what is in season, like what is in season or available and what they're bringing to the market. So I can mentally prepare what I wanted to purchase beforehand. Sometimes they even had the price and I could budget for that. And then I would start talking to them. I would go to the tables that had the least amount of people so I wasn't being annoying. And I would actually try to be friends with them. And I would go every week. And right now I don't, because I have 4 kids and I just had a baby. Well, I didn't just have a baby, but last summer I would have just had the baby. And it was great. I really felt like I was connecting. Okay, next is some grocery stores do carry organic. So you can get to know your brands. You can start reading labels, figuring out where things are from, and what you can purchase that is organic, because there's usually just a small selection, not often very big. And just start reading labels, reading the ingredients and things, and just start reading. Like, it's huge. This past Christmas, I was asked to purchase eggnog. And I never liked eggnog. I was never into it. And I go to the grocery store and I bought it blindly. I didn't even read the ingredients. And I don't know, there's a few brands, bring it home. And my husband loves it. He made like this eggnog latte and he made me one, and it was gross. Then I had it in my house, didn't read it because I wasn't interested in it and I wasn't going to feed it to my kids. So I didn't care. And so it was whatever. Week later, he's like, "Can you buy me another one?" And then for some reason, when I went into the store, I did not have my children with me. So I was just like, "Oh, I'm going to dawdle and read some ingredients." And I turned that eggnog around and I was like, yellow FCF. I'm like, that is not something that I want in my home. So I put it back. And I'm like, we're not bringing that to the house. I had no idea. I should have left. So yellow FCF, if you don't know, is a yellow food coloring that is extremely toxic. You do not want that in your body. Same with red dyes, any food coloring. And this is something that I've learned in the past couple years, and now I avoid like the plague. And yes, I decided then that I'm not buying it, so I have to make it. So I did, and it was way better. It was actually so good homemade that I drank it, and I had lots of eggnog lattes. And yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not bringing it into my home. It's disgusting. That is one example. So if you want to start, here's another few things. So you buy local, buy in season. Next is to make your bone broth and make soup. So don't buy soup in a can. That's silly. Soup is so easy, even if you work a full-time job. And if you have the staple vegetables like me, I only purchase the onions, carrots, beets, and potatoes and garlic. You can make a simple soup with just the onions and the carrots. And I do this probably every week and a half. I make a soup more often if I'm not very creative or have a lot of time if we're busy. And you just chop up those veggies, put I want to say almost a quarter cup of butter, quarter cup of a lard, and you saute it in there. Then add some broth, add some garlic, add some spices, and then puree it. And there you have a soup. That would probably take 40 minutes to make it. Longer if you like your stuff to simmer. And then I add bones. So I add a full bone, up to 3 bones. So with bone marrow inside, and I let all those nutrients and vitamins, just simmer in there. It's so good for your body to be consuming that stuff. So I do that. If I want a beet soup, I'll add a couple beets in there. And honestly, I just love, 2 large onions and a couple carrots, maybe 4 or 5 carrots, and then like half a bulb of garlic. The best soup I've ever had. It was just so simple and so easy to make. So if you're busy, if you're working, you don't have a lot of time, that is my go-to. And next would be, pizza. So just cooking from scratch is actually number 3 on my list. And that is so simple if you stick to, I want to say 10 simple recipes. I probably have about 10 that I make every couple days. No, not every couple days, but in between 2 weeks, there's probably 10 recipes that I stick to. I'm not very adventurous. I don't have the time to be, and I don't have the budget, because to be adventurous, you need to be purchasing ingredients that you don't typically buy or use for every meal. And I don't like that. I like to buy the same stuff that I can use interchangeably with my meals. So like the staple spices would be oregano, garlic powder, salt, pepper, thyme. Za'atar is huge in our home. And pretty much if I have those, I can make anything taste amazing. And then if I have the onions, garlic, and carrots and potatoes, I can make anything with those. And it makes it very simple for me, because then I'm not guessing and wondering what I need. I'm like, oh, okay, if I have that, I can make a really good dinner that tastes amazing. So cooking from scratch doesn't have to be complicated. Another really great option is making homemade pizza. So this does sound like a big thing, but I always make sure I have mozzarella, pizza sauce, and pepperonis in my fridge. And in the summertime, we have fresh basil. So I keep those toppings in my fridge at all times. And then once a week, I want to say, every week I make pizza. And the pizza that I make, actually, it's a recipe of 4 pizzas. So it's literally 5 cups of flour, a quarter cup of sourdough starter, or a teaspoon and a half of yeast, and then salt and oil. And then if you want to add oregano or garlic powder to that for flavor, you can do that. And literally it will take me 5 minutes to mix it in a bowl, knead it for 8 minutes, let it sit for an hour, and then I divide the dough into 4, put it in the fridge, and it just rests until we want a pizza. And then to make the pizza, we use a cast iron, put it in there, and we bake it for 12 minutes. And that is dinner for you. And I want to say that's the easiest, most stress-free dinner. And I do it a lot. And it's a good, I don't use a cheap flour. I use a really good spelt flour, or I grind my own flour with red wheat berries. Yeah, I might be saying that wrong. And it's simple. It's fast. When you already have the dough in the fridge, and when dinner time comes, it will take me, I want to say, 25 minutes for dinner to be served. And if you do 2 pizzas, because my kids will probably now almost eat a whole pizza to themselves, and then my husband will have a whole pizza, there's dinner. And it's so easy. It is easy even if you're rushing and you're busy. You just might have to prep the day before, or just be aware of what you have in your fridge so you're not short on your options. It just makes a big difference. Next is, I don't typically do this anymore. I haven't in the past year, but it's preserving seasonal foods. So if you go to farmer's market or go to a store where you can buy things in bulk, like in the summertime, you can buy bulk strawberries, bulk peaches, bulk apples. You can do a lot of canning and preserving that way. That is a great choice if you want to keep things in your cold room or in your fridge, freezer, what have you. And it's a great choice. I don't do it anymore because I don't have a garden, and my family's getting to a size where we just eat everything I buy, even if it's in bulk. So it's just not a priority for me right now, even though I will. I have all the canning stuff. I'm ready for it. Just not for me right now. I do freeze things though. I actually freeze a lot of stuff. My freezer is kind of where I'm preserving the things right now because it's a lot easier for me and I have the right jars for freezing. So if I do a pasta sauce or I do crushed tomatoes or anything like that, they typically go in my freezer. Okay, next, last one is sourcing quality meat and dairy. So this is the first year that I have purchased a quarter cow. So we did half cow and we split it with my husband's family, and it was great. Like it was $1,100 or $1,200 up front, but I got the fat back, I got bones back, I got organ meats back, and everything is individually wrapped and organized. And that was my meat for the winter. And for our family size, I would have gotten more. I would have probably needed the half cow, but we also hunt. So I had a couple deer in the freezer as well. So that really did help out. And then we raise meat birds. So we have chicken. And I would say this was a really, really great idea because number one, we chose the ranch. We know that they are grass fed, grass finished, and are lived in a really beautiful environment. They're literally lived on the mountains 24/7. They're never cooped up, and they get the best life and the best meat from eating grass. Like it just can't get any better than that. And the ranch delivers it to our town. They come to the town and you just go to meet them in a parking lot. Yeah, sounds a little sketchy, but that's what they do. And you buy your beef, you pay for the beef, probably e-transfer is what my husband did. And you take it home and you put it in your freezer, and then you have a half quarter cow right there. And that was, I love it. If you want to really connect and source those local farmers, find your ranchers, find the big companies, and see how much they charge per pound, and just ask questions. I think the best part of all this is you want to connect and build relationships and find that community of people. Even if you have no idea how things are done or what you're doing, just ask, build the relationships and be vulnerable. You're not going to learn unless you start asking questions and get to know the people that are doing it, and they're proud when you people do things properly and ethically. They are proud to share and tell you how they raise their animals and how they feed them and what their lives look like. It's a pride thing, when you take care of your animals right. I not everyone can afford organic, and I understand that, but even if you want to switch to whole foods, eating the whole food at the grocery store is better than a packaged or frozen. And depending on the frozen, you can buy organic frozen produce and vegetables that are frozen right away after being ready to pick or harvested, and that is an option. I don't do it often. I do it maybe for berries. If I am making a dessert that needs strawberries or raspberries, if they are organic and they're just frozen in a freezer, I will use those and purchase them. I just won't buy any berries in that are in the grocery store and they're not organic, and they're definitely sprayed with a ton of stuff and ripeners and all those things that you don't want in your body. So there's a lot of barriers that you're going to have to overcome, like the price. Buying a quarter or half a cow up front is expensive, and you might need to save for it. You might need to budget, but then you don't need to worry about meat for months down the road, which is awesome. And yeah, it's worth it. I feel like it's worth it. Not everyone feels that way because it's hard to save, especially right now when the price of food is so high. But if you cut back on packaged meals and processed food and not purchase any processed junk food, maybe you can start budgeting and putting that money aside for a larger piece of cow, So that's a good time, or a good way to go about it. Next is if you don't have time to make food from scratch. I hear this one a lot. A lot of people say they don't have the time to make dinner because they have kids' activities. They're running out the door right when they get home from school. I think homemade pizza is so fast and so easy if you just prep it the evening before, and prepping it would take 15 minutes. And that's an option. But I do think that it's a mindset shift. It's definitely a mindset shift. You have to plan, you have to prioritize health over convenience. And I think that if you really want to do it, you're going to make it work. Regardless of the sacrifices you're going to have to make, you will choose what is most important for your family. And I've already made a choice of what's important to my family, and now it's your turn. You're in the driver's seat. You are probably the one doing all the grocery shopping. You're probably the one doing all the running around and taking the kids to activities, or picking them up from school, or homeschooling, or whatever you're doing in your beautiful life. You just got to choose what's the most important. What do you prioritize? And next is if you live in a small space, it might be kind of hard. You don't have the freezer space. You don't have the space to do a garden or to have a pantry. Like, some people don't even have a pantry. I kind of have a pantry. I have a storage room, but it's not full of food. It's full of like kids' clothes and like Christmas decorations. So I'm still organizing and figuring out where things go in this house. But a lot of people don't have the space. And if you have a small home like I used to, that is a concern. Like, you can't just can if you have nowhere to put it. And I've heard, I don't know if I heard or I read somewhere where people would can and they would store things in closets and under beds. And it was like this funny thing where like, oh, the peas are all canned in, so-and-so's bedroom in their closet. So that people do it. Like, that's a real thing. So there is things you can consider, but then there's also things you could do to work with that. Like, if you have a family member with a larger home who is willing to, let's say, go in on a quarter cow and hold on to your meat for you, and then you can just pick up when you need a large sum of meat. That's an option. You can see if you have friends, neighbors who are willing to help you out. If there's a will, there's a way. And I feel like everyone will figure it out if it's something that they really want in their life. So it's not just about the food. I think it's about connection to nature. We want to know how our food is raised, how our animals are treated before we eat them. Like myself, I care a lot about what my animals have eaten, what their life was like, I wonder. And when you think about pork, for example, they are literally a garbage disposal. You could feed them anything, like dead animals, garbage. They will eat it and just get fat. And then you can eat them and you would never know. It probably still tastes good. And that makes me a little nervous, especially when I buy my pork or I buy my bacon. And I will spend the extra dollar to know exactly what those pigs are eating so that I could enjoy that breakfast sausage or that bacon, because that's gross. There's some gross people out there that do nasty stuff to cut corners and make money. And that is real. That is very real, that people do awful things and feed their animals garbage. So connecting with that and understanding that people care more about making money than your health, and that's a real concern. So that's one reason why. And it's also really important to appreciate the hard work of our regenerative farmers, who are, let's say, the people that bring food to my door every Saturday. They work so hard to tend their soil, to make the best crops, to support each other and the other local farmers in the area. And I want to acknowledge that what they're doing is amazing, and I support them, and they care so much about all of this. And they're just doing one little thing in this grand circle of life, and theirs is just the produce aspect. And I want you to think more, also not more, I want you to also think about, your eggs, your meat, your protein, the things that actually give you energy and sustain you the most, which would be the protein and the eggs, the beef. Those are really important parts of your diet. Next this is also a very slow and much more mindful approach to your life. It's simple, and it can actually bring you guys closer together because you'll be in the kitchen more. Your children can join in. My kids, I have 4. They're 5, 4, 2.5, and 9 months. And we spend 75% of our day in the kitchen making food. And I make a lot of food, but they're always either at the kitchen table playing and watching, or sitting behind me here watching and helping and touching and stirring. It's such a big part of our life is the kitchen. And I spend the most time in there, and I spend quite a bit of money on their food, and just simplifying everything. And I want them to appreciate quality. I do. And they won't unless we talk about it. I share, they're involved. And it's so important to us. So you don't need a farm to eat like you live on one. You can start small, practical changes in your kitchen. And if you're inspired, please share this with a friend. If you want to get more in touch with your food, with your community and your local farmers, share this and go on Facebook. Honestly, I feel like Facebook is the best place to really connect and find your community. That's where I started when I was on this journey a few years ago. And I can't recommend it enough. For wherever you live, there is got to be a community Facebook page where you can put a post out there with whatever you're looking for, wherever you want to start first. And do it. Just make the first move. Yes. So that is all I have. I'm just looking at my notes here. I'm like, there's nothing left. So that is all I have for you today, my friend. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love to hear from you. You can leave a review, or you can message me on Instagram, send me a DM. I connect the quickest on there. But I also have a Wellness Farm Chat Facebook page that you are welcome to join, and you can share your success stories, anything that you're working through or struggling with. And if you have questions or concerns and want to just find your community, find your people, I'm on there. I'll be your friend. I will talk to you. We can build a relationship, and I can be in your corner. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I can't wait to chat more next time. Thanks so much for joining me today. Please follow and subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. Also, if you could leave a quick review, that would mean so much to me. It is the only way I can truly know who is listening to this podcast and how you're benefiting from the show. See you next week.